we are getting into another very important topic for discussion: sustainable project management, the practices, pressures, and the planet. We need to understand why sustainable project management is very important and the things surrounding it is also to be understood. This session is going to give you a clear overview of the same. Let's get into the session straight away without further ado. Let's begin by asking a simple fundamental question. Why is sustainable project management very important? Why is this no longer a luxury or an optional addition to our projects? But it has become a necessity. We need to answer this and understand this. Sustainable project management or sustainable PM is all about embedding environmental, social, and economic considerations altogether directly into how we plan, execute, and evaluate projects. This means that while we are working to meet our traditional project goals like the deadlines, budgets, scope, etc., we are also consciously minimizing our impact on the planet and maximizing the value that we can bring to the society. Traditionally, project success was measured by triple constraint: the cost, time, and the scope. But this approach doesn't account for lasting impact our projects can have on this world around us. Sustainable PM moves beyond these constraints by asking the question: how are we affecting people? How are we impacting the planet? And it shifts our perspective from short term delivery to long term value add, to long term value creation. Now, please take a look at the diagram I have presented in front of you. This is the triple bottom line model. It illustrates three key pillars, and they are the people, planet, and profit. People, the social impact. Are we improving lives? Are we being fair? Are we being ethical and inclusive? That's the way we need to think about. Second, the planet. This is the environmental footprint that we need to connect to. Are we conserving resources? Are we reducing emissions? Then comes the profit. This is the economic outcome. Are we generating value and ensuring financial stability? Right. And as you could see, right in the middle, where all the three circles overlap, is the sweet spot. That's the sustainable project. That's where we achieve balance, where a project becomes not only viable but also responsible. There are frameworks available for us to follow. The frameworks like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we call it SDGs, the triple bottom line, and standards like ISO 14001 give us a very structured way to embed these principles into our project. From ISO 14001, for an instance, is all about the environmental management system that helps organizations to meet obligations while reducing harm. Why does this matter in real world right now? Because companies are under increasing pressure to prove that they are not just economically sound but socially and environmentally very responsible too. The clients, regulators, and even the job candidates, everyone is now evaluating the organizations based on their sustainability performance as well. This shift means that for compliance, brand image, investor confidence, and overall risk mitigation, sustainability is no longer an option. So, the message is simple and clear here. Projects must evolve, and as project managers or future leaders, we must evolve to adhering to sustainable management principles. That's very important, and that's why this session is going to be very important for you. All right. Now that we understand why sustainability matters in projects, it's very important to explore the core principles that make sustainable project management really a possibility. You will see them visualized in this diagram as I have presented you as the pillars supporting sustainable PM structure. Each one is important, essential, and are interconnected. Yes, I repeat, they are important, essential, and interconnected. Let's go pillar by pillar. The first one is going to be the life cycle thinking. This principle encourages us to look beyond immediate outcomes. That's going to be very important. The vision. Yes. Also, along with that, we can evaluate a project from cradle to grave, from ideation to design to operation, and even decommissioning. And we ask the questions which are going to be very relevant. What resources are consumed during this life cycle? What emissions or wastes are generated along the way? How can we reduce these impacts at each phase? All these are the questions that we need to ask. Life cycle thinking shifts our focus from short term metrics to long term environmental and social consequences as well. Whether you are building a road or launching a software, the idea is the same. Plan for the entire journey. That's the news here. Plan for the entire journey. Next comes the stakeholder inclusiveness and transparency. Sustainability is not something that we impose top down. It's built collaboratively. Understand, it's all about building things collaboratively. We need to involve stakeholders early. Communities which are affected by construction, for an instance, employees who will operate systems, investors concerned with ESG returns, NGOs and regulators. We need to listen, adapt, and communicate transparently. This way, we can build trust and ensure that the project is not only effective but also ethically is pretty much grounded. Then comes the precautionary principle in decision making. Yes, precautions are very, very important too. This is a key ethical principle. It means if there is uncertainty about potential harm, don't wait for proof to act responsibly. For an instance, if a building material is linked to possible environmental toxicity, choose a safer alternative even if the research is not yet conclusive. In sustainability, proactive thinking is much safer than reactive fixes. You have to be proactive and don't wait for time to come to change it. You have to be proactive, and it's always better than you being reactive. Then comes the resource efficiency and pollution prevention. What is that? We need to ask questions like, are we using materials and energy efficiently? Are we reusing, recycling, or reducing wherever possible? Can we substitute harmful inputs with greener options? This pillar is directly related to operational excellence. It aligns sustainability with cost saving through reduced waste, optimized logistics, and efficient workflows. And comes finally the social responsibility, the fifth pillar. The final pillar reminds us that projects serve people, not just investors. I reiterate, projects serve people, not just investors. We need to respect worker rights, ensure fair wages, support local employment, and avoid social displacement. A dam project, for an instance, might bring power, but if it displaces hundreds without consultation, is it ethical? Certainly not. Social equity ensures that progress doesn't come at the cost of community well being. So, when we talk about sustainable PM, it is not just one action, it's a philosophy built on these five foundational principles, and they are listed in front of you: the life cycle thinking, stakeholder inclusiveness and transparency, precautionary approaches, focus on resource efficiency and pollution prevention, finally, social responsibility. You cannot ignore one. If you ignore even one of these, the structure will start weakening. But when you integrate all of them together, we are building legacies. That's how sustainable PM has to be worked with. All right. Having seen the core principles of sustainable project management, it is time for us to understand into one of the most important areas. We now move into one of the most measurable and actionable aspects of sustainability in project management. That's nothing but carbon footprint. Let's first define what this means in the context of projects. A carbon footprint is the total greenhouse gas emissions associated with all the stages of a project, from design to delivery, even including its use and end of life. Projects, regardless of their size or domain, contribute to carbon emissions. Some directly do and some indirectly do. That's to be understood. Direct emissions are the ones that we need to discuss first. These are the emissions we can clearly see and measure on site, like the diesel generators powering equipment, concrete mixers running, or cranes lifting materials. Any machinery or on site energy use that burns fuel directly contributes to your project's footprint. In the infrastructure projects, especially, this can be massive contributor. Let's understand the indirect emissions right now. These are a bit less visible but just as important. Think about your supply chain. Transporting steel from one state to another or flying team members to a site, even the emissions caused by vendor operations, all these will be counted. We don't control them directly, but we influence them through decisions like, do we choose local versus imported materials? Can we reduce logistics related emissions? All these you can think about. Then comes the embodied carbon. This refers to the carbon already baked into materials, not from using them, but from making them. For an example, you are producing 1 ton of cement that emits nearly 1 ton of CO2. Steel, glass, bricks all have energy intense manufacturing. Remember, even before you lay your first brick, your carbon budget could already be half spent depending on the material that you choose. This is a major consideration in green building practices. Then comes the project life cycle emission hotspots. What is it? If we map a typical project life cycle, it will start with the design, then move on to procurement, then construction, finally operation. Each phase, trust me, each phase has carbon implications. Design determines the material usage, construction methods, and energy efficiency. Procurement choices decide where items come from and how sustainably they are sourced. Construction contributes emission directly through labor, machinery, and process waste. Operations, particularly when you come to IT or real estate, determines energy consumption for years to come. Every phase, every phase has got emission hotspots. So we need to analyze this holistically rather than thinking about short term. Then comes reduction request tracking plus innovation as a point. We can't reduce what we don't track. I repeat, we can't reduce what we don't track. We must start with carbon accounting tools. We are going to talk about it later, but remember, only when you track, we can do something. Then we can look for innovative reduction mechanisms like changing the material mix, implementing a circular economy principle, or adapting electric equipment. Think of carbon like money. You need a carbon budget just as you need a financial one. On the other side, you can see that a simple visual flow of emissions across the life cycle is presented to you. Every step from design to procurement and construction adds to the project's total carbon footprint. Remember, every stage we are adding contribution to the total carbon footprint. This is not just an environmental concern anymore. Governments and funding bodies now require carbon disclosures in tenders, and future ready organizations are already adapting. Remember, carbon literacy is a project literacy. A successful project today is one that finishes well and leaves the lightest footprint behind. That's just not business, it's our responsibility too. So I repeat, a successful project today is the one that finishes well and leaves the lightest footprint behind. Let's contribute to that. In the last slide, we discussed how the carbon footprint is distributed across the project lifecycle. But that brings us to an important question. How do we actually measure and manage it? That's what we are going to discuss right now. Turning awareness into action through tools and techniques is going to be discussed. Let's break it down into two segments. One is measurement tools, second one is reduction strategies. Let's go with measurement tools first. We are going to start with the GHG protocol and ISO 14064. These are internationally accepted carbon accounting standards. The Greenhouse Gas Protocol classifies emissions into three scopes. The first one, as we discussed some time back, is direct emissions, that is, from equipment on site. Scope 2, it is indirect emissions from energy purchased. like the electricity. Scope 3, other indirect emissions like the supply chain, travel, etc. Right? ISO 14064 complements this by offering guidance on how to quantify, monitor, and report greenhouse gases. Both of these help organizations become more transparent and accountable in their environmental reporting. The second is life cycle assessment tools. We call it LCA tools like OpenLCA, SIMAPRO, etc. These tools help us simulate the full environmental impact of a product or process throughout the life cycle. You input project parameters and the tool calculates the emissions, waste, energy, etc. Very useful in early stage project planning, all these are. When you are deciding between the materials or processes, this will definitely help you. They can help you with answering questions like which design option has a lower environmental impact or what is the true cost, financial and ecological, of importing steel from another country. All this can be analyzed. You can go deeper into it. You can choose the best. Then comes the digital twins and building information modeling. We call it BIM. These are advanced tech driven tools that create virtual replicas of your project. You can simulate how design choices can affect the energy use or carbon footprint. If something is not working sustainably, you see it before building begins. This is a very powerful way for early impact prediction and redesign, thereby saving the cost and protecting from carbon footprint. And it's going to be very easy. Once we measure, we can act. That's what I told you sometime back, right? Now we need to understand the reduction strategies. Once we measure, we act. First one is the material choice. Some materials are inherently carbon heavy, like the cement or steel. Switching to recycled steel or fly ash concrete or bamboo based alternatives can drastically cut embedded carbon. Even reducing the volume of the material through smart design will really help. Then comes the option of renewable energy. Yes, renewable energy in operations is going to be super useful. Switching from diesel generators or grid electricity to solar or wind reduces the operational emissions. Projects can install temporary solar arrays during the construction, or they can commit to green power purchase agreements for long term operation. Sustainable project management is important. It means planning not just for construction but for ongoing energy use too. And importantly, logistics cannot be ignored. We need effective and efficient logistics. Logistics is often an invisible emission source. Can we source materials locally instead of shipping them from international sources? Can we optimize the routes to reduce fuel usage? Can we use electric transport vehicles on site? All these kind of questions can not only reduce emission but also improve the timelines and costs. One can see the graphic which is presented in front of you. The top of reflects the tools and the bottom shows the actionable strategies. The tools include GHG protocol, ISO 14064, LCA tools, etc. The actionable strategies include low carbon materials, renewable energy, efficient logistics. All of these feeds into one outcome, a lower project carbon footprint. That's all. We aim at a lower project carbon footprint. Making your project environmentally responsible, regulator ready, and future proof is super important. So, the simple takeaway here is measure what matters, then reduce what you can. Measure what matters, then reduce what you can. With the right tools, you can do both effectively and efficiently. Alright, in the previous slides, we discussed how to measure and manage carbon. Now, let's zoom in on another vital concept, resource optimization. This is all about using fewer resources, using them smarter, minimizing waste, and maximizing output. In sustainable project management, optimization is not one time event. It's a mindset. It applies to everything we do, from procurement to construction to operations. Let's explore key strategies one by one. First one is the lean project management. This concept comes from manufacturing, but it's now essential in construction and IT projects too. The core idea is to eliminate waste in all forms: time, effort, money, and materials. Can we reduce idle time on site? Can we avoid rework by designing things better? Can we cut unnecessary meetings or document revisions in digital projects? All these are the questions that we can ask, and they adhere and support lean project management. The focus is on delivering value with minimal waste. It's simple but really transformative. The second one is smart procurement. The local and sustainable vendors are the option right now. Procurement decisions either make or break sustainability goals. Choosing the local suppliers not only reduces transportation emissions but supports the local economy. Selecting vendors with sustainability certifications ensure that materials are responsibly sourced, energy efficient, and they are ethically produced as well. You need to ask your suppliers with following questions. First, what's your carbon footprint? Do you follow environmental regulations? Can we reduce packaging or use reusable transport containers? These questions drive the change beyond your immediate team. They impact the entire supply chain, and that's good for the future. Next is modular construction. This strategy involves prefabricating components offsite in controlled environment and then assembling them at the project site. The benefits are really very huge. They give us faster project timelines, lower material waste, improved worker safety, and significantly reduced on-site energy use. For instance, many green building projects now use precast concrete panels and modular toilets to reduce installation time and operational as well as environmental disruption. Next, you need to optimize energy and water usage. Energy and water are really very, very precious. They are often overused. We need to ask ourselves the questions: are light and generator running all day unnecessarily? Is there leakage or water misuse on site? We can go ahead with automatic systems, low flow taps, solar panels, or even rainwater harvesting setups. In the IT projects or offices, optimize server energy usage, cooling systems, and lighting schedules. It's all about squeezing more value from fewer units, and we can do it as a team. Next comes the digitization and material tracking. Are we not living in digital age? Yes, we do. Then why do we rely on paper logs and manual oversight? Let's use digital tools and sensors to track how much material is used, where it goes, and what's being wasted. The IoT based inventory systems can be a real boom for us. They prevent overordering, they help us with alerting teams when usage exceeds the thresholds. We can also flag items going to be unused for long periods. Data is power, data is everything. All this data can bring us visibility, and visibility can bring us control. This is where digital meets sustainable, right? You can see the infographic which I have presented in front of you. It sums it all brilliantly. Each of these strategies, energy use, water reuse, modular methods, and local sourcing, feeds into one outcome that's nothing but optimized resources. This is not just good for the planet, it's also good for the project. Remember, optimization is not about cutting corners, it's about building smarter, it's about getting smarter. Every rupee saved in resource use is a rupee earned in sustainable value, and remember that. Let's get into quickly the next one. So far, we have looked at the internal drivers of sustainability, like the frameworks, carbon tracking, and optimization. Now, let's look into a different perspective, which is actually a major external driver: the stakeholder pressure. Whether we realize it or not, today's projects are under constant scrutiny from all the directions. And this scrutiny is shaping how we build and deliver them. Let's look at each stakeholder group and understand how they influence sustainability decisions in projects. First one comes from the clients. Clients no longer satisfied with completed on time and under budget work. Now they ask, is this project LEED certified? Does it align with GRI and ESG standards? All these are the questions which are being asked by clients. Many clients make sustainability a contractual requirement as well. For example, real estate developers demand LEED Gold or Platinum certification for credibility and market value. The tech companies are asking for zero carbon data centers and client expectations are evolving. Projects must evolve to meet that expectation for a global good. Next comes the investors. Money flows where sustainability goes. Investors today actively assess the company's ESG, that is, the environmental, social, and governance scores. Before they fund, they need this ESG scores to be analyzed. Why? Simple, non sustainable projects definitely pose financial risk, which can be due to the non compliance, public backlash, or operational inefficiency. If your project lacks sustainability plan, it might also lack funding. So, for project managers, this means that more reporting, more transparency, and more proactive planning. We need to get into that, and it's no more optional, as I have been repeatedly telling you. Let's get sustainable. Then comes employees. Younger generations also want to work for companies with values, not just for profits. Employees are now asking questions during interviews. What's your company's carbon policy? Do you offset emissions? Are you building responsibly? These kind of questions start coming from the employees. Retaining top talent increasingly depends on aligning the organization's values with personal beliefs. Recruitment is easy, retention is difficult. A sustainable project culture will also motivate the team, reduces attrition, and definitely builds loyalty. Then comes the regulators. Environmental regulations are tightening globally. Governments require definitely carbon disclosure in the major infrastructure and manufacturing projects. Many municipalities today made impact assessments mandatory before construction. Failing to comply with all this can result in delays, fines, or total project shutdown. So, as a project manager, it's not about just good ethics. It's a legal obligation now to monitor, report, and mitigate environmental risks. And comes we, the public, and the society. Lastly, let's not forget the power of public. Social media, local communities, and watchdog groups can make or break a project. A dam project can be protested by villages, and we have seen this in the past. An IT park that cuts down an urban forest is no longer accepted. A plastic plant near residential areas may not be permitted anymore. All these can face very fierce public resistance, even if legally compliant. So, we need to go beyond law and engage with communities yearly, openly, and continuously. If you look at the diagram on the right, which I have presented, you will see these groups forming a ring around the project team. Clients, employees, investors, regulators, and the public. Each applies pressure from different angles with different expectations. Your job as a sustainable project manager is to balance, align, and communicate across all of them. So remember this, stakeholder pressure is not a threat, it's an opportunity. Let's see it and handle it carefully. Well, sustainability sounds very ideal in theory, but in practice, it often introduces many real world conflicts. The cost, deadlines, and stakeholder interests always don't align with green goals. So, how do we manage as project managers? We need to balance the competing priorities, and that's not going to be easy. We are going to discuss how to manage those conflicts effectively, not avoiding them, but addressing them head on with clear strategies. Let's explore the top three types of conflicts that you will commonly face and how good can you navigate them. First one is the cost versus sustainability. This is perhaps the most common friction point. Green materials often come with higher upfront cost. Think of a low carbon concrete, bamboo flooring, or solar panels. Teams ask, can we afford this? There is always a cost factor connected to it. The answer is to shift the conversation from cost to the value. Use the method called as life cycle costing, which is called LCC. This means that calculating the total cost over project's life cycle, not just during construction. For example, LED lighting may cost more initially at the point of buying and using it, but it saves a lot of energy for 10 plus years when you consider it that way. Recycled bricks may reduce structural load, allowing for smaller foundations, and that way it's going to be more beneficial. Life cycle costing helps you to justify decisions by showing long term ROI, not just short term savings. Next very important aspect is the speed versus emissions. In the fast track projects, the rush to deliver can drive up carbon emissions. You have to think about frequent shipping of materials, last minute procurement from distant vectors, night construction with floodlights. So, how do we maintain speed without raising the footprint? The solutions include prefabrication. Modules built offsite can certainly reduce time, waste, and emissions. Nighttime logistics planning is another way to it. Schedule deliveries during off peak hours to reduce idling and fuel use. Just in time delivery is another approach. We can minimize material storage and site congestion. These techniques can really ensure project moves fast but stays green. The third very important thing that we need to consider, the conflict that we need to consider is the stakeholders versus objectives. Sometimes the internal or external stakeholders always have competing agendas. A finance team might prioritize cost, which is actually right from their perspective. A community might want reduced noise, which is actually again their right. The client may focus only on delivery time. That's how they are working. The solution here is stakeholder mapping. Identify who has the most influence and who is the most impacted. Engage with them early. Communicate often. Use the tools like RACA charts or power interest grids to align expectations. Also, deploy consensus building tools like design charts or sustainability workshops would help. On the right side, you see conflict resolution table. The cost versus sustainability, we can go ahead with life cycle costing. Speed versus emissions, prefabrication can definitely help you. Stakeholders versus objectives, stakeholder mapping will help you. This table reminds us that conflicts are inevitable, but they are solvable. When you have the right mindset and method, you can solve. Don't try to eliminate every trade off. Instead, make conscious, balanced decisions and document them transparently. Prioritize long term value over short term optics. This is not just going to be making you profit, this is also going to get you a lot of trust. You can earn trust, your project will become more resilient, it will be credible and future ready. Let's shift from concepts and strategies to a real world example. We are going to pick a case study that brings all the principles we have discussed into one successful story, the Green School Project. This case is all about a low energy school built in a semi urban region where the goal was not just education, it was to demonstrate what sustainable infrastructure could look like even in a resource constrained settings. The objective is low energy, high impact objective. The core aim was to build a school that would consume minimal energy while remaining functional, comfortable, and inspiring for students and teachers alike. It had to prove that sustainability doesn't mean sacrificing quality, but it is all about enhancing it. We need to understand the sustainable technologies used in this case. Several green building strategies were implemented. Solar panels to power up the school was the first one, thereby reducing dependence on the grid. Rainwater harvesting systems for non potable water used like the toilets or irrigation was also done. Recycled bricks made from construction waste really helped in reducing the embodied carbon significantly. These are not futuristic ideas, they are feasible, affordable, and repeatable. A LEED Gold certified, that's the next thing that the school can do or they have done. Since it's a case study, we can take it that way. This project did not just get built, it got recognized too. It received a LEED Gold certification. which is an international green building standard. The school got it. While the initial construction costs were 12% higher, the operational savings on energy, water, and maintenance led to full return on investment in just 7 years. From eighth year onward, the school started saving money every year. That's sustainability in action for you. Stakeholder engagement is a key ingredient as well. The project team involved the community right from the design phase. Students were asked about the space usage, parents and teachers contributed ideas, local builders were trained in green construction techniques. This sense of involvement increased the ownership, acceptance, and even volunteer participation in the later stages of school's operations. The stakeholders involved are to be understood as well. The government officials, they took care of the funding and permits. Students and parents, they are the end users. Builders and green consultants for all the technical delivery. The entire ecosystem collaborated towards a common vision. That's the proof that multi-stakeholder sustainability is possible. You can see the picture I have presented, design to build to operate to ROI in 7 years. Each stage embedded sustainability, resulting in long term impact and inspiration. This is not just a feel good project, it's a model. I repeat, it is not just a feel good project, it's a model. It shows that with proper planning, innovation, inclusion, even a public infrastructure can be made climate friendly, cost effective, and community powered. This example can serve as a motivation. Your project too can leave a legacy, not just a structure. All right. We have come to the time where we need to summarize all our learnings and to understand the takeaways that we all have here. This is a very important topic, and this is going to be the future. The efforts that we are putting are all going to be for the future. As we wrap up this discussion on sustainable project management, let's pause and reflect on the core lessons that we have walked through. These aren't just talking points, they are the mindsets that every future ready project should work into. Please understand, sustainability is central, not peripheral to the projects. In the past, sustainability was considered a bonus, something we would do if we had extra time or budget. That's no longer the case. Today, it's the core strategic driver. Clients, investors, regulators, and even job candidates expect it. So, we must stop treating sustainability as a checkbox and start treating it as guiding compass in all the project decisions. Second, carbon and resource optimization saves money long term. Green solutions may require initial investment. Yes, that's the fact, but they often lead to operational savings, fewer penalties, better performances in long run. Whether it's energy efficient systems, water reuse, or waste reduction, optimization means that you are spending smarter, not more. Third very important point, stakeholder pressure is an opportunity, not a burden. It is easy to see stakeholder expectations, especially around sustainability. Please don't see them as obstacles. Please see them as opportunity. When the clients demand green solutions, when the employees push for ethics, when the public raises concern, it gives us chance to think better, build smarter, and strengthen the trust and alignment. Responding to this pressure is how modern projects earn credibility. Fourth point, the tools and frameworks help balance trade-offs. Yes, we saw how tools like lifecycle costing, carbon accounting, stakeholder mapping, and modular design help resolve conflicts. You don't have to solve sustainability puzzles with guesswork. You've got methods to help them make informed, data driven decisions. Finally, every project is a chance to do better for the planet. Yes, every project you touch, whether it's a building, an app, a process, or a policy, is an opportunity to reduce harm, create value, and leave a positive footprint. You don't have to build a Tesla or a wind farm to make an impact. Even a thoughtfully designed website, a sustainably sourced procurement plan, or an inclusive training program contributes to a better tomorrow. Sustainability is not an option, it's a responsibility. As future leaders, let's build not just with intelligence, but with integrity, empathy, and purpose. I'm also going to give you an activity that you need to work, and you can let us know how exactly you worked on it. Now it's your turn. Imagine you are redesigning a highway. What you would change to make it sustainable? Think about energy use, community, carbon, and cost. You can discuss in groups with your friends, present your idea very nicely, and I'll be very happy to see your responses. Thank you very much.